The deal, fam, is your man E. Some people ask that I give some more analysis regarding Light Years track by track because you felt like I was more so commenting to comments of the first video. So here we are. First track, My Life is Real. I don't really feel as though this is a good beat. That's just my opinion. Is what about this says 80s and 90s? Some of you saying they stripped down the elements. That's what makes it 80s and 90s. Not really, because Mobb Deep and people along that ilk, I always say how they have a minimalistic approach, but it still has a quality to it. This doesn't really scream 80s and 90s to me. The piano, chord progression, the way it's played out, in my opinion, it just sounds like someone without musical sensibilities trying to play Biz Markie's Just a Friend.
You ever met a girl that you tried to date, but a year to make love?
The execution just isn't there. Nas has some memorable lines. I like his approach, but I don't feel like the production and the lyrics really flow well together. Like, that's just what I'm hearing. This is the opening track, ladies and gentlemen. The intro track. When you press play, this is the first thing you hear. And to my ears, I wasn't very satisfied with that. I'm not a fan. Once again, I like the rapping and the rhyming on here. I just don't like the production. Get ready. In my comments, a lot of people like this song. Some people don't, but I did see some comments where people like it. To me, it sounds forced. That's just my opinion, but I will say this. This may be some of the best scratches that Primo has on this album. And he has some great ones, but this, I don't know. The energy, it just seems seamless. He just seemed like prime Primo on the scratches on this. Nas is rapping about, financial tools, investments, and how he starts his day. Just some examples. But many have said this is paying homage to the 80s and the 90s. I'm not really getting the connection outside of the production on this one. If you have a concept and you putting things together, that's not nitpicking on my end either. If you're saying this is about the 80s and the 90s, and the production gives you that, but the writing doesn't necessarily align with that, does it really work well? Does it fit? That's just what I'm hearing. Because sometimes a coach can draw up the greatest play, but execution is everything. I don't think they executed very well on this. Keep in mind, this is track 2, the beginning of an album. It's supposed to be setting the stage of what it's going to be. With 2 tracks in, and I don't feel like they've done that. Some people do, because sometimes the music is just enough. But when I'm listening to an album from DJ Premier and Nas, I'm thinking of a body of work. And if some of you were saying this is Light Years, the travel of distance, not time, which you're absolutely right by definition, are we really there yet? Track 3, New York State of Mind. Simply put, this beat just sounds incomplete. It really does. It sounds unfinished. And saying something is minimalistic or taking it back once again to having the least amount of elements like back in the 80s doesn't mean that is good. Because there are some points on this album where there are minimal elements and it's absolutely phenomenal. This isn't one of them. I will say that I stand corrected by saying that this isn't on Nas as far as choosing the beats, because this is New York State of Mind, Part 3. Pretty much, to some people's eyes, a very legendary trilogy at this point, or leading to that. And if you have to make Primo do 10,000 beats just to get the right one, he should have done that. It sounds like chaos that's not organized. Perfect example would be like I gave you Power. The intro and the actual production don't necessarily have to be in the same key or have the same feel, but it flows seamlessly. That Billy Joel sample alongside this beat, it didn't sound right. It sounded off kilter, you know. It sounded unfinished. Like the drums had a little hop to them, but it wasn't really hitting. Nas references New York City clubs, art galleries, brothers doing pull-ups and push-ups, things that New Yorkers could definitely feel a connection to. But I just don't feel like the production bringing those lyrics to life. I just don't. I don't think they work very well together. It's about execution. I understand that you guys are saying that it's about the 80s and the 90s and things of that nature. I get that. But just because you have an idea doesn't mean that you execute the idea. That's what makes bodies of work or great teams great, because they execute a game plan. So far, we're 3 tracks in, and I haven't experienced that execution at an elite level. In fact, I'm not too fond of the first 3 songs. Next up, we have Welcome to the Underground. But I actually like this production. It's not bad. Live layered instrumentation, electric guitar, which is why I'm glad I didn't jump the gun and press play on the snippet that was circulating the internet, which I've seen now that the album's out, because it probably would have tainted my experience. I actually like this production. But we're telling a story, right? That's what I was told. This doesn't meet the vibe or the essence of the 80s nor 90s, with the exception of probably the scratches once again and Ice Cube. Nas is doing some great rapping on here, referencing things like corner stores and how he's progressing and flying overseas, bringing back gifts. He's okay with his kids being or benefiting from nepotism. I just don't like the production or feel like it provides or merges once again with the lyrics. The synergy isn't there. That's not high expectation. There should be a standard, and I don't feel like the production and the lyrics go together. That's just my opinion. That's what I'm hearing. Next up, we have Madman. Let me tell you something. This is when the album takes a turn for the better. I was highly, highly, highly impressed and satisfied with this song. I feel like they're honing in on the idea or the concept now. Someone saying that I wanted 15 Nas's likes, or I gave you powers. Nah, this isn't that. This doesn't sound like that. Nor does it sound like Second Childhood. But it sounds like Nas and Preem. It has that energy. This is something that I was looking forward to. Kick has character. I think there's a hi-hat on this track for the first time, or a maraca, something there that pushes the track, gives it energy, serving as like a metronome in a sense. Gives the beat life and energy once again. A pulse, that's the best word I can think of. The scratches are absolutely clean and elite. The presence is there. Bass is very simplistic, but it holds down the foundation. And the preset, the sound that he selected for the bass, was A1. Nas is talking confidence, bravado, the arrogance, for lack of a better term, of a New Yorker. I was here before most. That's pretty much what he's saying. Reference to track masters and how people still wanted him to work with Primo back then. The energy is there. This is when you say to yourself, or I said to myself, oh yeah, this is for me. This is Nas and Primo. This is what I signed up, and this is what I paid for. My only issue is that it's too short, and that's a great thing. Not being greedy, I just, like, it was that great that I wanted this song to continue. Next song, we have Pause Tapes. The trend continues. In fact, when the track list came out, this is one of the joints that I was very, very, very excited about, because I already knew he was going ahead with it. Some people didn't understand Pause Tapes. I gave some replies in the comment section. Some people even thought that he was going to be taking the trendy approach to saying pause after every sentence. I knew exactly where he was going with this, and his creativity would take it to new heights. And boy, did they execute. Everything is right. Minimal elements, breakbeat, static hiss, pan to about 3, or maybe 2.5 stabs of a guitar sound. I think that's a James Brown vocal sample in there. The production set the tone flawlessly. Nas delivered an epic audio experience. This is phenomenal work. I don't care if Pete Rock, Large Pro, Alchemist, anybody on the planet, nobody could have done this better, you know? And for people who say he tailors his beats for artists, for me, I feel as though this is a Gangstar, Guru, daily operation beat that Nas happens to sound prolific over. I'm not complaining, man. This was it.
It's a drive-in movie, no roofs on a bunch of Benzes. Let's try to reimagine the passion when I got in this.
Fire. Highly, 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 highly impressed with this tune. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for this. Next up, we have writers. The trend continues. Break beat with heavy bottom. Scratches are clean and precise. Great vocal choices on the samples. The bass line holds the foundation down and still feels so melodic. Not to mention, do you hear the layer of the bass line and utilizing it as a top line melody with a different sound and preset? Come on now. Primo, knock this out the park. Knock this. This is what I'm talking about right here, man. This is what I signed up for. From the beginning, Nas, the energy, his voice, when he comes in on the track, you're like, oh yeah, yeah. This is what I signed up for. Close your eyes, you can envision. This is hip hop, somebody performing or Nas performing on stage. You got people break dancing at a park jam. This is hip hop. If this is 80s and 90s nostalgia and that was the goal, the aim, they knocked it out the park with writers. This is it. Minimal elements, but the arrangement is perfection. Once again, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Fire. Next track. We have Sons. Now, this may be a step away from the theme, but it works and it's needed. It's needed.
One day the words may come out the mouth of a reverend. By the power vested in me, loud at his wedding.
I think it's like a chord with a flanger on it. Something's on there. A simple bass line following that. For those thinking, yo, E's only want banging and booming drums. No, this has a kick and a clap. No issues there. But the hi-hats add a different element. Simple, but a necessary element. For real. Nas' descriptive writing was on full display. Absolute fire. I love this song. I really do. I love this. I love the hook as well. It just, it captivates or you gravitate towards it. Especially being a parent, you know, like this was needed. And this is a different bag for Primo. So the whole notion that I want him to just do a certain type of production isn't completely factual because this isn't prototypical DJ Premier. But I love this. I think that the idea with the lyrics and the production merged together and worked flawlessly. That's where I'm at with it. Next track. It's Time. Not a fan. Sounds forced. And it just sounds like late 90s, early 2000s album comes out and an exec tells the producer and the artist, you know what guys, you need a single. And they just went in the studio and put something together. Steve Miller Band, I don't think the creativity is there. If you're gonna sample that, flip it in a very unique way. And I get some of you saying it's 80s and 90s, but it just seems forced. Like they were looking for that single. It just doesn't work for me. It's not I'm just not a fan of that. I'm gonna leave it alone. It's Time is not for me. Next track we have Nasty Esco Nasir. Let me say this production is fire. This is the type of production I was looking to hear on New York State of Mind Part 3. Y'all hear that energy? You hear the energy? Bounce on the drums, but the bass is the culprit leading the way. Do I need to speak about Nas's performance? Elite. Just elite. Performance-wise, cadence and writing. The flow is there, and the tension makes for a great experience. I was totally sold on this. Thank you, gentlemen. Next track, My Story, Your Story. When this record comes on, I just feel like it just took a lot of energy out of the experience, at least from the song that came on before. I don't think it fits. Outside of it just being a Nas and AZ record, and then making some references maybe about Albee Square Mall, I don't see how this record works. I think Primo said that Nas happened to like Rock Marciano's Prayer Hands, and that's what this beat reminds me of. I don't know. Great rapping, but it just feels like a forced moment. Like, yo, we got to get that Nas and AZ joint on here. I don't think it belongs on the album. On another project, it probably works. I don't think it works for this project. That's just me. That's me. I'm not a fan of the production. I think they're rapping, but I would have preferred too to have maybe go back and forth on maybe the last verse and then have their own solo verses as well too, you know? Because it just felt like they were competing just to have the hottest line, but it never connected with me, you know? Bouquet. This record sounds like a celebration, like the way an album should end. If we're talking about 80s and 90s, and Primo said this is for the purist, right? Like, I think this is the energy, the celebration, you know? Full sounding drums, bass line that moves but isn't busy. I love that. Scratches are highly effective and not overdone. Nas doing what he does, showing love to those before him and the future. Ladies, women. If this was the last song, like I stated before, in the sequence, I would have not been mad at all. Bouquet, I like this a lot. Junky, phenomenal idea, poor execution. That's just me. Production doesn't fit this at all. The mix is off a bit. It sounds like Nas is a tad bit too low in the mix. Maybe it's just me. Not enough drops. It's like a continuous loop. Maybe some arrangement or different elements would have helped. Something about the beat inspired Nas to write this, but I'll pass. I'm not really the greatest fan of this record. Some people absolutely love it in the comments though. It just doesn't work for me. You know, I'm not a fan of this record. Shine Together, absolutely good song. I don't think it fits on this album. It's not a bad song at all. 80s, 90s, Nas saying some great things on there. The scratches, I like those a lot. They fit very well. Once again, it's not a bad song. I think that it sounds as though they just threw it on there because it was a good song. But I think a song like this probably would have paired better with, like, I don't know, a Mass Appeal single, A and B. Define My Name on the A side and this on the B side. I'm not a really big fan of the record on the album. And that's what we're talking about, right? A full body of work, how it works within the origins of the story, like you guys stated. I could be wrong, maybe I'm missing something. It's not a bad song, it's just a bad fit. Third Childhood. He attempted to capture the magic of Second Childhood, you know, because that's, everybody loves that record, right? Nas takes more of a reflective route, uplifting history, hip-hop 50, positivity, people who he's helped out along the way. But I feel like the production is too somber for this. I think it should have been more uplifting, you know, especially for the last track in a sense. I don't think it merges very well with the initial idea. And it's not very creative in a sense because we get Second Childhood is a great thing, but you come with the same slap bass and the same hook. And some people said when I said it was laziness that I was doing too much, but that is kind of lazy, right? The same hook, same slap bass in a sense. I'm not a fan. After the run of like Pause Tapes and Madman and writers and things like that, I just don't feel as though the tail end of this album meets the expectation either. Because Third Childhood was another joint that piqued my interest when I first seen the track list. I really wanted to hear this like a lot of people, but I don't think it flows very well within the sequence of the project. A lot of these aren't bad songs or bad ideas. A lot of it just doesn't fit, or a lot of it was just probably good songs on a hard drive and they just put it on the project. This song, it didn't need 15 tracks. If they trim the fat, like a lot of projects, you get a better project in my estimation. But that didn't happen. It really didn't happen. So my final thoughts I absolutely love 6 tracks on here, you know, where the idea came to life, where it works, I understood the assignment and where they were going, and they were on the same page. My closing thoughts, everybody can have their own opinion, you know, but just because you feel as though something is the greatest ever, don't get upset when others don't. I watch people say they tapered their expectations so they didn't go in expecting too much. But at that point, if you tapered your expectations on the Nas and DJ Premier album, are you really getting Nas and DJ Premier? What's the point? I understand you're checking the box off, you get some work from our favorite producers and artists, but wouldn't you want it to be at an elite level or standard? That's just my assessment of what I was trying to convey, you know? Some people say if you keep listening, it gets better and better. That's cool, that works for some projects, and that works for some people. For me, that's not the case on this. How do you think I've come or able to record this? You think I ain't listened to it numerous times? It's reminiscent of Martin Scorsese's The Irishman when it came out. People saying, yo, you gotta keep watching it, it'll connect with you, it'll connect with you. It's great moments, phenomenal moments, but they could have trimmed some of the fat. You could have trimmed some of the fat. And if you like this, absolutely love it, I implore you to run up the numbers, because hip-hop succeeds when you do so. That's why I tell people to cop the pre-order. I'm giving the ease experience, my opinion. If you love it, go cop it. Never said you couldn't like it, never said you couldn't enjoy it. I think some people were spending too much time trying to convince everybody else that it's fire than they are actually listening to the project. That's it. So that's just my assessment on that. Remember, you can achieve anything in this world through sheer hard work and patience. God is the greatest. It's your man Ease at the Ease Experience. Go get yours. Yeah.
Hey, yo, E.